Garten of Banban is a very profitable franchise, with marketable characters, low budgets and high profits, and a young audience who's willing to consume anything. And so far, there have been 7 games in the series, technically being 5, because Banban 7 isn't out yet, and Banban 5 is just Banban 5, and with no sign from the Euphoric brothers of slowing down. It makes you wonder, will Garten of Banban actually end? At first, this sounds like a stupid question. All things have to end, whether they're good or bad. But when you start to think about it, why would they stop? We're at a time where indie horror games are in the highest demand ever, especially while people are waiting for the newest episode of their favorite show or game to come out. And if you have a keen eye, you'd notice the Euphoric brothers changed the story multiple times to extend the game's runtime. At first, we just came to the kindergarten to find our child, but then they transitioned it to getting as deep as possible into the factory to discover what secrets were hiding. And now, we're trying to find the scepter piece to seal away the naughty ones, for no reason other than plot convenience. If you noticed by now, the first 3 games have literally no meaning to the current story, other than introducing us to the characters. This is probably going to continue, with the brothers changing the story every few games. And in every game, when it feels like you're so close to the end of the series, you're done with the game, you see the pop-up to wishlist the next game, and you start making fun of yourself for thinking you almost beat Garten of Banban. But that brings us back to our question. Will Garten of Banban end? While it definitely will at some point, the real question is how long will the series last? We can guarantee another 4 or 5 more games to the series, but how many more will come after that? Personally, I think Garten of Banban will outlast all its chapter-based competitors, like Poppy Playtime and Joyful obviously, but the game will eventually fall into obscurity, since the games won't evolve with the player base. And personally, I think that's Garten of Banban's main problem. Let's compare Banban with another game, like Poppy Playtime. When Poppy Playtime blew up, the chapters that came after that were huge improvements in quality, horror, and especially lore. Now, let me show you gameplay from 2 games. One from Banban 6, presumably what should be the highest quality game in the series, and one from the second game. See a difference? Unless you memorize the entire map, puzzles, and mechanics for each game like the Discord mod you are, you wouldn't be able to tell me the difference. Another way to compare the 2 games is by price per hour of gameplay. For both series, their first game is free, so let's compare the 6th Banban game to Chapter 2 of Poppy Playtime. For Poppy Playtime, most gameplays range from an hour to an hour and a half. Right now, the game costs $4.99, but its original price is $9.99. But since discounts for the chapter occur basically every month, I'll just say the game costs $4.99. The 6th game also is around an hour to an hour and a half long. Garten of Banban 6 costs $5.79 right now, with no discount. So, by assuming that each gameplay for each game is 1.5 hours long, that would mean that you're paying around $3.32 for every hour of Chapter 2, and $3.86 for every hour of Garten of Banban, which is crazy considering the quality difference. Even if Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 wasn't on a discount, and was its base price of $9.99, it would only be $6.62 for every hour of gameplay, which is justified by Chapter 2's quality. While I'm not hating on Garten of Banban, you still have to look at the numbers. But wait, let me give you the most undeniable proof that Garten of Banban will never end. Take a random guess on how much Garten of Banban made. Well, whatever that number was, it was probably thrown out the window, because Garten of Banban made at least 250 grand. Yeah, you heard me right. Now you might start to understand why the Euphoric brothers keep pushing out these games, because eventually they'll become millionaires. Especially since each game's budget is a maximum of 20 or 30 grand, which is probably already a very high estimate. These numbers aren't even calculating the revenue from merchandise like the U2 splashes, and the merchandise on the official shop, like the shirts, mugs, plushes, and hoodies. Putting all of these numbers together, we can estimate that this year, the Euphoric brothers made at least $1 million. So, to answer your question, while Garten of Banban has to end eventually, I can guarantee it will last at least until 2025. If Garten of Banban doesn't fall into obscurity, then it will probably end when the developers lose passion for making games. And yeah, that's basically it. Also, don't take this video as hate towards the Euphoric brothers. I love Garten of Banban, with its lore and gameplay. I just wanted to make a fun video about Garten of Banban to celebrate hitting 2,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. Alright, I'll see you next time.